to Hot Mama's Cool Planet, the sustainable wellness podcast where we two hot, lifelong friends talk about caring for ourselves, our family, and our planet, with humor, honesty, and maybe a little ranting along the way. I'm Mer, and I live in London after spending most of my life in California and New York. I'm a researcher and a storyteller with a passion for hair history, food, and trying to live a healthy life.
And I'm Miechie, and I live in sunny California, although it's a little bit foggy today. And I am a game developer and a parent of Manga Monster, and I used to be an artist and live in all kinds of other parts of the world, and now I live back in my hometown of Davis, California.
And together we are here to explore how personal wellness and planet wellness are always connected. So today's episode is about bicycles. But before we get there, we always like to start with our tiny pleasures, the little joys that made this past week better. Do you already have one in mind, Miechie?
I do have a pleasure in mind. It wasn't so little, actually. I took a mini vacation getaway last weekend, completely spontaneous, to the beach to Monterey. And we went on a beach hike that for the kids was 11 miles. I didn't go the full way of it, but with some friends and their families. And as we were walking along the beach for the first 4 miles or so, we had a friend out in the ocean who came with us, who was a young sea lion. At least he or she looked pretty young, and the kids named the sea lion Marshmallow. And the kids were just, at one point, they just like threw up their shoes and were jumping around, and Marshmallow was swimming along beside us, and it was just this beautiful moment of like land meets water, and two different biomes next to each other, but still somehow like interacting with each other in this way. And yeah, it was a wonderful moment, a pretty big pleasure.
That is huge. I love interspecies love. Oh, that is so nice. Marshmallow.
Yeah.
I wonder why he or she decided to swim along with you for so long. I guess they were really curious about you all and thought you looked like a nice bunch of people.
Yeah, Marshmallow, there were, some other groups of people, but Marshmallow just sort of stuck with us for a long time.
Oh, that's so nice. That is a good pleasure.
Yeah.
My tiny pleasure for the week, let's see, on Tuesday this week, Godzilla and I took her to see an old 80s band that I used to love, because my normal partner in crime for going to see 80s music was unavailable, and so I dragged my Gen Z/Gen Alpha daughter to see an 80s band, which she didn't really appreciate, and she was definitely by far the youngest person in the whole audience. But the tiny pleasure came afterwards, when we were wandering around in London a little bit late at night, and we were...
What 80s band was it? Can you share?
It was ABC.
Okay.
Do you remember ABC? I loved ABC, and Martin Fry, who's the only remaining member of the band, who's still part of it, was redoing the whole Lexicon of Love, which is their best album, of course. So that was pretty awesome. It was definitely my big pleasure. But the tiny pleasure was that afterwards we were wandering through like Oxford Circus, Regent Street, that part of London, very touristy shopping district, and they have already put up their Christmas decorations. So we got to see all of the big, beautiful lights, all these angels like of light flying overhead, and that's always wonderful to see. And on a Tuesday night in November, it's not too crowded, so that was definitely a big pleasure for me this week.
Oh, that sounds so nice. I remember when Manga Monster and I visited you a couple years ago, it was around Christmas time in London. And it was just so beautiful to walk around the city and see all the interesting ways that people had decorated things, and walking around and seeing like these decorations in people's windows of these elaborate cutout snowflakes that they had done. And yeah, the do-it-yourself decorations were really cool too.
Yeah, London, I have to say, really gets Christmas decorations right, and it's beautiful to behold. I only wish that it lasted longer, because then you still have January and February to get through of the misery and drudgery of cold, dreary London town. But it sure is pretty November and December.
Right. Well, shall we get to today's topic, which is bicycle towns and cities?
I'm so interested to hear what you've learned. Tell me.
So I'm going to start with a few historical facts that, even though I grew up in a bicycle town, I didn't know. So I'll share those with you. And then I will talk about a trip I took to a new bicycle garage founded by a woman named Maria, and what I learned there, which was really interesting for me. And I also want to talk about other towns and cities around the world where bicycles are popular. So that's the plan for today, in a loose kind of way. So yeah.
Let's roll.
All right. So there's this bicycle museum in Davis that you can go to. Davis is my town in Northern California. You can go to downtown near a park, and you can go inside and you can see all these strange bicycles with three seats, when people didn't really quite know what a bicycle would be generally, what it would turn out to be, and bicycles with large front wheels. So actually the first bicycles had really large front wheels, and the first bicycle, apparently, I didn't know this, but it was invented by a German baron named Karl von Drais in 1817. And it was called the Laufmaschine, which means running machine, because he didn't even realize that a bicycle should have pedals on it. So it was, you just would like sit on it and use your legs to push yourself around, push yourself forward.
Like a toddler's scooter.
Yeah, like a training bike, which I remember Manga Monster used when he was like, 2 or 3 years old. When we were in Singapore. He was like going around with a Laufmaschine. Yeah.
And, it makes sense
Yeah, it helps you get your balance anyway when you're a toddler. So yeah,
that's call it a balance bike.
Yeah, balance bikes. Mm-hmm. So that was the first bicycle, and then a couple different inventors, mostly French. They started having they put pedals on the bicycle, and they started having bicycle clubs and races, and that was in the 1860s. One French inventor named Pierre Lallemand was one of the main people there who did that. And then there was a bike this was called, back then it was called the safety bike. Now we call the safety bike those toddler bikes, but this was called a safety bike, invented by a British person named John Kemp Starley. And he made a bike with the same size wheels, which was a big innovation.
Oh, instead of like the one big front wheel, like an old penny farthing, but now same size.
Yeah, so you weren't like balancing on this giant, wheel in the front, and like in a circus or something, you were, on two wheels that were the same size, so it was easier and safer.
What a strange thing to have to innovate on. Like, it seems so straightforward.
I know, right? I think that's how a lot of innovation happens. It's
they thought of pedals, they thought of same size wheels. Good. I'm glad that these innovations came along.
Yeah. So okay, now that's pretty much it for my that's the most historical info I got. Then
museum, do you get to try out any of these old bikes?
I don't think so. They do. The Davis Bike Club does meet outside there, and they go on these bicycle rides all the times, which is kind of a fun thing. But I don't know. Good question.
That would be fun. I once watched a video of an influencer who I like, who was trying to ride a penny farthing, and it seemed very difficult. She had to, she had to stand up on a platform just to even mount the bike, and then stopping, I assume you just fall over. That's the only way, right?
Right, maybe you need like a platform to get up and off it or something.
So.
Yeah.
What were they thinking?
Yeah. Okay. So, then I wanted to talk about different bicycle cities that I've lived in and visited, where people are really into bicycles, and the whole city is sort of structured around allowing people to ride bicycles around them. Um, like, I used to visit the Netherlands a lot, in Amsterdam, especially when I was doing my PhD there later on. And people are really great at riding bicycles there. I mean, it's just part of the everyday life. It's not
Definitely. It's,
like,
yeah.
well, I remember even before that, like visiting when I was back when I was an artist, and another artist friend of mine was living there, and we would go around to all these art openings on the bicycle, and you would see like, young women in high heels, but everyone on their bicycle. And or
It's
we
just
would,
how you do it. It's
balance on the back of each other's bicycles to get to the opening, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, in Amsterdam was where I first saw cargo bikes, which are really useful when you have a family and you want to, get around town on your bicycle, which people also use here in Davis a lot.
You see them around here once in a while too, but it's bicycling in London is not nearly as friendly.
Yeah, there's more traffic, and I don't think the streets are quite set up as well for it. Yeah, you have nice bike lanes in the Netherlands for riding your bicycle, and it's a lot safer. And yeah, I remember that people would use these bakfiets to take their toddlers around town, which are like these wooden structures that go around the bicycle. And so it was almost like having a car or something, like having this bicycle where you can go around town and move your toddlers around town. So, or younger kids too. So
very cool. I know, yeah, and like Copenhagen also has a big bike culture similar to Amsterdam.
yes, I have never been to Copenhagen, but I have heard that people are, very much into their bicycles, and
Yeah,
bicycles
it
are a
reminds
part.
me-
People go to work, to school, everywhere on their bicycle, older, younger, just like in Amsterdam or a lot of other places in Europe, smaller cities, smaller towns, are very bicycle friendly.
And do you know in Amsterdam whether they still continue to use their bikes even when the weather's horrible?
They do. When I was defending my dissertation, I remember it was snowing, and we went on our bicycles to the event downtown at this hall downtown, and all dressed up fancy.
Wow, brave.
Yeah, in the snow. It was very cold, but yeah, people use their bicycles in the snow. You just layer up and try not to slip in the snow, and have a nice warm hot drink when you get to wherever you're going. Yeah.
Amazing.
And people have good rain jackets too for the rain. And also, what's really nice is people also decorate their bicycles, like put flowers on them and pretty stuff like that. I love that stuff. So yeah.
What do you think of, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, maybe I should let you follow your own agenda, but what do you think of the bicycle culture at Burning Man?
I've never actually been to Burning Man since, I lived abroad so many years. I have friends who have been, so I don't actually know about that. What happens there?
Well, everybody brings a bicycle with them to Burning Man, and that's how you ride around, because the whole space of the playa is really quite big, and it's, the weather conditions are pretty awful. It's generally disgustingly hot all day and then freezing cold at night, so getting places quickly is better. And so everybody brings their bicycles, and a lot of people decorate them in all sorts of exciting ways, from just like attaching ribbons or pom-poms to making them into like whole vehicles that look really amazing. So it's a
fun.
convenient and fun way to get around, and because it's this
Bicycle party.
yeah, it's a big bicycle party. I mean, last time I was at Burning Man was probably 20 years ago, so I think
Among other
changed.
things that it's famous for.
Yeah, I think it's changed since I used to go. But back then, you barely even had to lock it up. Like I got a really, just a crummy little throwaway lock for my bike, and the point was mostly to just get a drunk person to realize, oh, this isn't actually mine, because nobody was stealing stuff, at least not back then. It was a really nice kind of it was a really pleasant way to get around and to be in that kind of barter culture.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to talk a little bit more about some of the cities that are bicycle friendly, like Berlin is super bicycle friendly. When I lived in Germany, in Kiel in the north, they have bicycle lanes that are really built into the roads, so it's much safer to get around.
How did these cities come to be so friendly to bicycles and cyclists?
I think bicycle use just has been very popular in the past in Europe, especially Northern Europe. I'm not sure. I think it goes back some time, like even to, my parents, like my dad who grew up in Germany. I remember a story of my grandfather. Well, this wasn't a really nice story, but he had to ride a bicycle after World War II all the way from a city that's now part of Russia, Königsberg, to Western Germany when the Russians came in. And so he rode like he was a refugee on a bicycle.
Wow.
But yeah.
That was essential.
Yeah, but bicycles were just, a part of the culture, I think, there. And what else did I want to mention? Like there's a few other cities I wanted to mention outside of Europe. I remember when I was a kid in the U.S. watching the news at night, and I don't know if you saw this, but when you would see shots of people in China, video of people in China, everyone on their bicycles in Beijing. And at that time, it was almost like the newscasters were like, look at the Chinese, like the poor Chinese can't afford cars and, they can only go on their bicycles. But, looking back, we can see, well, that was really great for the climate.
Yeah.
Everyone using their bicycles and healthy for you.
I was actually wondering about that. Like throughout Asia, you see a lot of two-wheelers, mostly motorcycles and things like that. But that, why? If it's going to be two-wheelers, why not have it be friendly to all different two-wheelers,
Yeah. So back then, people couldn't afford cars, but even today there's a city in China which is famous for a red bicycle sharing system that's 14 years old, Hangzhou, and it's also like, very bicycle friendly. You can go ride all around the city in bicycles and go out in these bicycle tours in the country. And you can also tour the hutongs in Beijing on a bicycle, which sounds really fun. Have you been to Beijing?
I have. Yeah, it was like 10 or 15 years ago. And I feel like I would probably be nervous riding a bicycle through that big city.
Yeah, I think right now it would not probably be very safe, but the hutongs are those maze-like old neighborhood with all these old buildings and narrow alleyways, and apparently you can rent a bicycle and go through there, and it's probably pretty safe because there's not a lot of car traffic there. And
that sounds fascinating.
Yeah, I think that would be really fun. Let's see what other cities are bicycle friendly. Mexico City, when I visited there maybe 5 or 6 years ago, they had put bicycle lanes in some of the neighborhoods near Chapultepec Park, which is like the big park with all the museums in the center of the city. And the Condesa had bicycle lanes, and so that was cool. Like right in the middle of the city, they were trying to make it more bicycle friendly and safe for bicycles.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of places not only are not conducive to riding your bike, but some places are downright aggressive against bicyclists. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I do notice that when I leave my town, I just have to be more careful because people sometimes, it's almost like they want to swerve next to you to scare you sometimes when you're out on a road where there's no bicycle lane.
My husband, the hairy guy, he has told me that he's read statistics that people, literally, it's not just your perception. They do aim. They swerve toward the cyclists. And I don't know if it's deliberate, like if it's they're aggressively doing it, or if it's just sort of like they can't resist the allure of this target that they see, you know. But it's not your imagination. There are some cities that are really anti-cyclist.
Huh. Yeah, and that makes me jump ahead and think of, the recent trip I did to Maria's bicycle garage here in town.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, let me back up a little. I want to talk about bicycles in my town of Davis.
So utopia. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So apparently the street I live on was the first bicycle lane in the U.S.
Wow.
In Davis. And that's 8th Street in Davis. And there's another part of the street that was part of the Pony Express. But yeah, so this is this interesting little place where people were riding bicycles for a long time. And there are a lot of bicycle shops in town selling, all kinds of racing bikes and fancy mountain bikes and really lightweight bikes and cargo bikes and every kind of bike. They're sort of specialized in different areas. But there's one that I like to go to called the Freewheeler for a long time that does really reasonable repairs. But usually when I repair my bike, I go to this place called the Davis Bike Collective, where it's a do-it-yourself place where they help you, they teach you how to repair as they're helping you. And you can just go there and use all the tools if you already know what to do. And apparently they used to be called the Davis Bike Church of Bike, and they were kind of like these hippies who, it started out at these dome houses, which also is kind of near where I live, where they would have this, they called it the bike church, this bike, three-wheeler bike with all these tools hanging off of it. And they would go around and they called themselves bike ministers. And they would, help people with repairs on their bike before they got like a set location to sort of live. And yeah.
That's so sweet.
So yeah, like as you move up in the bike church, you become a minister. It's all volunteers, and people can do donations. And yeah, that's where I usually go, and they've helped me out a lot with, whenever I get a flat or something like that, I go down there, and they've helped me fix up some of the old bikes around that I have ended up using. And but then I thought, well, I'm gonna try this new place called that is founded by a woman named Maria who lives in town, and it's not really that new. I guess it's been around like maybe 14 years.
Oh, that's
but yeah. But it's newer than the Bike Collective, the Bike Church, which has been around since the 70s. And so I went there, and I was really impressed. I brought an old racing bike, Specialized, that I have. My dad can't ride bikes anymore, and he had given it to me, and I wanted to get it fixed up a little bit. It was a very lightweight carbon bike, and I just wanted some advice, because one time I was out in the country riding it, and this annoying man on a bicycle kept telling me I was in the wrong gear all the time. It's sort of, like how some men just have to tell you things and be very controlling, and
mansplaining your bicycle to you.
Yes, mansplaining my bicycle. Like he even it was almost stalkerish. He waited for me to come loop back and tell me that I was like, hi, is everything okay? Are you okay? And he's like, no, but you're in the wrong gear.
Were you not able to move on your bicycle? Like,
It was just a windy day, and he thought I should be in a lower gear because of the wind.
I'm glad
Whatever.
that works for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
But anyway, one of the things I'm learning in life is to not get defensive when annoying men are really arrogant and condescending, but also listen to whatever kernel of truth there might be about what they're saying. So I'm like, maybe I'll go to Maria's bike garage. She gives lessons to people who are from 3 years old to 70 years old on how to ride bicycles, and I'll just ask her, like, am I doing something wrong, or is there some way, because racing bikes, I've grown up on, just town bikes, so I'm like, what do I need to know for a racing bike?
I have to say, that's very open-minded of you to look past his mansplaining ways and to actually find the kernel of truth that was in there. Well,
yeah, I wasn't sure if there was a kernel of truth, but, there might have been. Sometimes there are.
Trying to see it from somebody else's perspective, even if their method of telling it to you was questionable.
Exactly. So I went there, and Maria was there, and she didn't even really talk. She has all these amazing volunteers who help do the bike repairs, and they don't. It's not so much the do-it-yourself ethos of the bike collective, which it's more like they really do it for you, which is really nice. But she did sit down with me, and the first thing she told me is that you are wearing your helmet completely wrong and that it wasn't safe. And all the times I've been to the bike collective, no one's ever told me this, but apparently I was wearing it too far back, so my forehead was exposed and it wasn't safe. And so she spent a long time with me adjusting the helmet. So that was amazing. I was like, wow. And apparently, like they do all these classes for kids at schools on bike safety, which is really important. And
can I ask you more about the helmet adjustments?
Yeah.
What did you learn? What would you advise people how they should be adjusting their helmets?
So when you're wearing your bicycle helmet, you should be able to see look up and see the rim of it.
So it should be just right above your eyebrows.
Yeah, and you can adjust the straps in such a way so that it's also I wasn't wearing it tight enough around my head, so it would more easily kind of flop off if it not too tight. So we spent a while like getting it just right, like comfortable but snug. And so yeah, I had never done that with anyone or had that advice, and I was like, wow, it really this is amazing, like to just like really focus on the safety and above all else.
Yeah, that's so important. I mean, as somebody who's had a head injury, I would definitely encourage other people to avoid having a head injury. So, yeah, get your helmets adjusted.
Yeah. So that was really cool. What else did I want to say about them? I mentioned that they do the kids classes, and safety. Basically, I just wanted to talk more about safety because I think it's a really interesting time to be in a bicycle town right now because there are so many electronic vehicles zipping around silently, the electronic scooters and the electronic bicycles that in some ways are good because it's better that people are using those instead of cars. It's better for the climate and, but on the other hand, most of the people who use them don't use helmets. And they go really fast, and sometimes, at least, I live in a university town with students from all around the world, and I think some of them come from places where people go on the left side, like in the UK, instead of the right side. So they're coming and using these electronic vehicles and not quite used to, what side of the road people use to go on, and it's just a mess. It is a mess out there right now when I bicycle around town.
We we have loads of those rental electric bikes, like Lime Bikes and a few other companies that are all over the place here. And from my perspective, I don't ride a bicycle in this city. I'm too scared. But they're all over the place, littering the sidewalks. They're everywhere, and people just knock them over, and they're terrible. And I feel like the companies that put these out need to do a better job of keeping track of them. But the hairy guy does ride a bike, and he says that on his commute, these people who are using these rental Lime bikes and such don't know what they're doing, and they're on these electric bikes that go way too fast, and they're out of control, and they don't know the safety rules, and they're just like amateurs, you know.
Yeah, and often probably drunk. They're like, oh, I can.
Maybe not on his work commute, but yes.
Oh, okay.
For sure. You know, yeah, and I just feel like there should be better regulation of the proper use of these, and yeah, that's my little rant.
I totally agree with that. I think that we really need regulation, and I was looking into a little, what other places have done that are really bicycle forward. And apparently in Amsterdam, they have instituted a 25 kilometer per hour speed limit for electronic bikes and scooters. And also you need to get a license, this blue license.
Wow. So somebody coming from somewhere else couldn't just rent one of those without getting one of those licenses?
I don't know about that. Like if they have any of those rental bikes, maybe not, because you would need to have the license. Yeah. So I don't know if, that's exactly the right regulatory answer, but something needs to be done because it's really unsafe. I don't know how many times I've almost had an accident in the last year or so from...
That's so scary.
Yeah.
One of the bike things that I do enjoy here in London is there's an annual race called the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, where all of these, I guess men, but whoever I suppose, dress up in their finest tweed three-piece suits like an old-timey gentleman of London, and they ride their bicycles and hopefully penny farthings, but motorcycles too, you name it. And they ride around like gentlemen of 100 years ago, and I think that's adorable.
That is really cool. Yeah, that reminds me of some other just fun bicycle culture stuff I wanted to mention from my town, like that we have a zombie biker parade around Halloween, and everyone dresses up in their Halloween costumes, the kids and parents, and they block off like maybe maybe 10 blocks of the city or so, and you can go around and from Central Park and outwards towards East Davis to another park, and everyone's wearing their costumes, and it's really fun. I forgot to participate this year, but I was just driving my car around with Manga Monster and a friend of his, and we, the huge crowd of zombies on bicycles came by, so we had to stop and just watch them, and yeah.
That's so cool. I remember hearing about with, I don't know if we're supposed to talk about politics here, but it's just with all the ice raids and the things that are happening in different cities in Portland. I'm not going to talk about politics. I'm just going to say that it was because...
We can talk about politics. Politics are a part of life.
And part of wellness and sustainability, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Anywho, in Portland, apparently, they had like a naked bike ride that came out to like protest ice and everything. And I'm just imagining all these naked cyclists, like, and I have
That's
to
really
say,
fun. Funny.
I don't know. I would not want to ride a bicycle naked. I'm just, ugh. And I certainly wouldn't want to ride a bicycle that somebody else had ridden naked. Ugh.
You prefer the men in tweed.
I do. I would borrow a bike from some guy who rode it in tweed, and I would not borrow a bike from some guy who rode it bare-assed.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to borrow that bike either.
I'm just thinking, like, I think it would be way too personal for me to have a bicycle seat on my naked self.
Huh. Yeah, that would. Portland, I guess, has its own kind of way of doing things and culture, and yeah.
Portland weird, you know.
Kind of like Burning Man in Moss.
It totally is, all year long.
Though, yeah, I haven't been to Portland in many, many years, but yeah.
Well, maybe we'll have to make a pilgrimage there with some bicycles and then not loan them to anybody.
Yeah, and wear like fake naked clothes. Like beige clothes that look naked.
Bodysuit, paint on the
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? So yeah, the safety concerns, drunken bikes. There are like, you find like those rental bikes just abandoned everywhere in these weird places around town. Is it better than people driving a car? I guess so, but yeah.
It is, I suppose, better than drunk driving, but it's still a nuisance, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the hard part of the regulations is like also like Davis and, town nearby Woodland has bike lanes, but not everywhere is so bicycle friendly. So, maybe it's going to be, the challenge will be to make some regulations just for our little town where it's so crazy with the electronic bikes and the regular bicycles mixing together, because the regular bikes don't go as fast as the electronic bikes. Yeah. So the electronic bikes zip up quietly, silently behind you when you don't know that they're coming, and like zoom around you. They're like zigzagging around through the other bicyclists, the regular bicyclists.
Yeah, it's like they should have their own lane or something, multi-lane bike highway.
Yeah. Have you ever taken a tuk-tuk before?
I have in India. Yeah. Some bicyclist in front who carries around a little carriage that you can fit 2 or maybe 3 people in. Yeah, it's a way to get around.
Yeah, so, if you're thinking about bicycle towns and cities, well, I was like, thinking of Northern Europe and, some of those cities in China and then Davis. But yeah, Southeast Asia has tuk-tuks everywhere, in Thailand, in Vietnam, in Indonesia, and
various cities in India that I've been to, yeah.
In India. So yeah, it's just another way that bicycles are part of the city, and you can get around that way. And it's, someone's earning a livelihood. Riding a bicycle could be worse, and not polluting the environment.
Here in London, they have some of these tuk-tuks, but they're totally blinged out with pink feathers and lots of lighting and twinkly fairy lights all over, and they're blasting disco and they take tourists around through these touristy areas. So when I was talking about my little pleasure of seeing the lights already up for celebrating Christmas time, there were some of these pink feathered bedazzled tuk-tuks going by, blasting Mariah Carey and George Michael singing their Christmas hits, and that's pretty much London for you right there.
Sounds jolly.
In a way, I mean.
Yeah. It reminds me of also in, nearby city of Sacramento, they have this kind of like bicycle bar truck where everyone's like pedaling, and then there's someone serving them drinks. It's really weird. And then there's someone like steering the whole thing. Yeah.
Everybody's on this one thing, and they're all cycling.
Yeah, there's probably a name for it. I just forgot they existed till this moment now, but I've seen like drunken jolly people bicycling on these things around Midtown in Sacramento.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
I once got to ride a bicycle for, I forget if it was 6 or 8 people. But when I was working at Google, they had these, what they called conference bikes. And so they're all in a circle facing each other, and we're all cycling, and somehow it goes into some major gear, and so everybody's pushing the bike, and only the one person is able to see where they're headed, and they're able to steer. But everybody's pumping on their bike. So yeah, I've been on those multi-person bicycles before, and it's quite ridiculous.
Huh. It sounds fun. As long as the main person, isn't drinking who's steering. Yeah.
We didn't go very far, so I'll never tell.
I remember when I was growing up in Davis, because I kind of grew up on a bicycle, and we just zip around, come home for lunch really fast on the bicycle, go back to school. And but I remember sometimes a friend of mine, when I was about 12, we would borrow her mom's tricycle. It was like a large tricycle for elderly people, and I would sit in the back, or she would drive, or vice versa, and we just would laugh our asses off, like driving around town in this silly bicycle. Yeah.
Godzilla still doesn't know how to ride a bike. I think she could. We tried teaching her when it was age appropriate, when she was much younger, and she got to the point where she pretty much could do it, but she decided at that exact moment that she didn't want to, and she's never wanted to since. And so here in London, like I said, I'm too scared to ride my bike here in London. I get nervous every time the hairy guy rides his bike, but so possibly I could have done a better job of encouraging her more, but yeah, I think it's interesting when a kid decides that they don't want to.
Isn't it interesting how, I think our generation of parents, we allow or I don't know. I grew up in a family that I didn't have as many choices about things. If my parents told me I had to learn to ride a bicycle, it would not have occurred to me to say no. And but now with Manga Monster, I try and give him more agency as a kid to make his own decisions and have input into decisions at least. So yeah, this for our weekend getaway, he did not want to go at first. He's like, Mom, no, I was really looking forward to the 4-day weekend. I need to relax. And so I was like, okay, we won't do it. And then at the last minute, he changed his mind. I was like, yes, we're going. But anyway, just, that was kind of hard for me not to force him to do it. So cheers to you for not forcing Godzilla to learn the bicycle if she didn't want to. Yeah. But
thank you, I'll take that. I don't know if I deserve credit, but nice.
But you all should come visit, and she can take classes with Maria on.
I think if we were living in a town like Davis, where it's so just common and that's what you do there, I'm sure she would have done it to just be part of the social crowd. But here it's, definitely, obviously people do ride their bicycles, but it's I don't know, it's not as necessary.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think, I can go on and on with bicycle memories, but I think that's pretty much what I've got to say about bicycle towns and cities for now.
Do you have a favorite song about bicycles? I only know one. Oh, I guess I know two.
I can't think of any songs about bicycles. I got that golden song from K-pop Demon Hunters in my head ever since last weekend.
But it's a good one.
Yeah, that's the song in my head lately. But yeah, what song do you know about bicycles?
I was singing the Queen song, I Want to Ride My Bicycle. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I might have heard that once or twice, but I can't really remember it. Yeah.
That's okay. All right, so I feel like I know way more about bicycles now, and I'm kind of jealous of the way Davis is at the forefront of cycling. It reminded me of when we were talking about recycling, and Davis is on the forefront there. For a small city, you are pretty cool.
Yes, Davis is a good town.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I guess it's time for us to close out the show. And I was wondering if you have any intention that you want to set for the coming week.
I do. Have the intention to, even when people are negative around me, because I've been going and just testing my game a lot, and it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier, where sometimes people have something critical to say that's useful, but sometimes they say it in a way that can be insulting. I'm working on not getting defensive and just at the same time having like really positive thoughts towards myself running in my head when that happens live. And so that's what I feel like. Where I can just have this little soundtrack going, you're awesome, what you do is awesome, and, not everything has to be perfect. And, so that's what I'm working on is having a little kind of voice go in those situations, like, don't take it personally, just move forward and be awesome. So,
that's a good intention. I might borrow that. But my intention for the week is to try to eat more slowly and to really, really, really taste the things that I'm eating. It's a simple one, but I feel like I need to work on that one this week.
That sounds good. Sometimes when you're working really hard, you just, are taking in your calories and your nutrition really fast and not stopping to enjoy it. So, yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to try to stop wolfing it down and try to start savoring it instead.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's it. Thank you for joining us on Hot Mama's Cool Planet. If you enjoyed today's conversation, share it with a friend. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a review. It really helps for people to find the show. Thank you.
And enjoy riding your bicycle.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.